3, 2, 1. Hey everybody, welcome to the latest episode on our podcast, and we are so glad that this is the first that we're going to do for 2024. Yay! If you remember last year, how many episodes did we do, Phoebe?
3.
3.
Not 1.
Not 2.
3.
3. Right.
Yes.
I love how we just started the first episode for the year. We want to welcome all of you. My name is Terry, and I am the Teens Pastor here in NXG DUMC. And I want to get my guests tonight just to introduce themselves. Your name, what do you do for a living, and are you a coffee or tea person?
Oh, okay. Shall I go first?
Yeah.
Okay. My name is Zhong. I am a leader in NextGen in DUMC as well. I do sales for a finance company, something like that. And I'm definitely a coffee person. But fun fact, my entire time studying law in the UK, I never drank coffee because I didn't like it. So I drank tea, then I came back, and then I started drinking coffee, which was a waste. I think coffee would have been very helpful in my degree.
Did tea help get the job done?
No, I drank Coke.
Oh
That was
my
the problem.
God. Tea plus Coke.
Just in case your viewers are wondering, he means
Coca-Cola.
Coca-Cola.
Coca-Cola. That's right. Coca-Cola. Definitely.
But why did the sudden change from tea to coffee? I mean, because you did not like it before, right?
Yeah, I didn't like the taste. I came back, then I began experimenting with making kind of pour over coffee, and then it just destroyed coffee for me. I can't drink most coffee anymore, which is a problem.
What? Why?
Because you can taste when it's bad. Last time, ignorance was bliss, right? You go to a coffee, you're just like, oh, this is great coffee. But once you are aware, then you realize that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
No going back.
Okay, how about you, Phoebe?
Okay, my name is Phoebe. I am also a leader in NextGen. I manage people's social media accounts for a living. No, I do comms. Marketing comms for a living. I'm also a coffee person, but I think I'm a fake coffee drinker.
What do you mean? Like you drink coffee, but you think it's tea?
No, what?
Or you don't drink real coffee, you drink fake coffee.
Yeah, ish. But I drink coffee only for caffeine. So I don't enjoy pour over coffee.
Right.
Because I don't enjoy coffee as an art.
Oh.
Or the nuances
No, that's
of
not
the
a
coffee.
fake coffee
Right.
drinker. You're just a utility-driven coffee drinker. You drink for the
It's
caffeine.
there's eat to live and there's live to eat. There's drink coffee to live and there's live to drink coffee. I drink coffee to live.
I see.
Wow.
Yeah.
I see.
We're getting so deep into this coffee or tea talk.
Wow.
I will inject coffee into my veins if I
Oh,
could.
wow, okay.
That kind.
All right.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
And ladies and gentlemen, it's not like we are encouraging you to inject any
So-
form of coffee or caffeine into your veins.
We established Coca-Cola. That's one. And then
Yes,
we've established-
yes. We
coffee.
do highly recommend that you ingest caffeine, whether it's Coca-Cola or coffee or tea. So
Proportionately, as when you need it.
YouTube, please don't ban us. All right. I get it. I get it. I couldn't drink coffee before. Every time I drink coffee, it would move my
I
bowels
see.
in a way that it's not like if I eat hot bird,
Oh.
Yeah.
What spicy level?
the highest.
Oh, okay.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay.
Reaper, yeah.
What's the highest?
Reaper.
Reaper.
It's like, yeah.
Like Carolina Reaper.
Yeah, it's like, it's hot. That's why it's called hot bird. It's, yeah. But anyway, ever since I had kids, my body was like, you know what? My body told the bowels, like, you know what? You need this.
Suck it up.
So literally just stop. Just enough.
It's more like don't let go.
So, 3 kids later, I can't live without coffee every day. So I've grown to really enjoy coffee.
Fair.
And we spend way too long talking about coffee and tea.
Fair.
But great intro, guys. Well done. Yay. We made it past the introduction. Now, if you're wondering what this episode's about today we will be talking and zooming in on, well, everyone's favorite topic last month. It's of course in March now, but We're going to be talking about relationships. Like boy-girl relationships, love, I like, or like what are kids saying nowadays? What are kids saying nowadays? I'm in a situationship.
Yeah.
Oh
yeah.
my
Riz.
goodness. Huh?
Riz.
Like the keropok?
Like Riz.
Yeah, like
Oh.
or Riz.
Like,
Oh, Riz.
yeah.
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 Rizzing it up. I think.
Rizzing it up.
Fun fact. I was conducting a class one day, and like I asked any of the kids if they had any questions, and one they put up their hands, was like, "Whoa, Pastor Terry! Like, where do you get so much riz?"
Oh my.
What class was this?
Was he a guy?
It was interpreting scripture.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and I just stared at the guy like, I ordered it on Shopee. I actually did. There's
ordered?
this sticker that called Riz on Shopee.
What sticker is it?
It's just a sticker. But anyway, moving on from that, we will be talking about relationships, and of course, our hope and what we hope to achieve through tonight's conversation is that, we would hopefully share with you some of our experience and some angles that, some viewpoints that we have on relationships and what it means to be in a relationship as a Christian. So, right, let's jump right into it. Are we ready, guys?
Yeah, I have a question, like off the top.
Sure.
What's the best Valentine's Day gift you've received from your partners? Because I have one.
Okay, go for it.
So this year, Ashton got me a bottle of really expensive maple syrup. And easily, that's the best gift. Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Just wanted to express.
So, Terry, can I ask you a question? Have you ever received a Valentine's gift?
I have not received a Valentine's gift.
No, Terry, ask me.
Lucho, have you received the Valentine's gift?
No, I've not received a Valentine's gift.
No, sorry. Let me just retract that answer. Yes, I have. The gift is me giving something to my partner.
No, the
Right.
gift is
That's-
your partner herself.
Yeah.
That's the correct answer, guys.
Yeah.
Learn.
So I'm seeing a pattern
Yeah.
here.
Rose, you are the gift that keeps on giving. Say it.
Yes, Lydia, you are the gift that is still giving.
No, but legit though, I've actually not
Yeah.
received a
Really?
Valentine's gift
Me
in
neither.
my life.
I'm seeing a pattern here.
Life.
Okay.
Yeah, but
Like-
it's okay. Let's move on.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Sorry, this was the wrong question.
No,
Yeah.
great. I hope you guys have learned something there.
Guys, if you've received Valentine's gift, appreciate. But we appreciate as well.
Okay, so I'm glad that Phoebe mentioned the name Ashton. And if you're wondering, who is this Ashton? Well, Ashton is not her brother, all right? Or her, uncle or whoever. Ashton is her boyfriend, all right? So, and of course, Lu Chong is married as well, okay? And your wife's name is Lydia,
Yeah.
right? And together you have...
Naomi with a daughter.
Lovely, yay. So let me just kick things off.
Kicks it's off.
Kick things
please.
off. Let me kick things off, all right, tonight, all right, by asking you this question, Lu Zhong. So how did you meet Lydia?
Met her in college. We were both in BAC studying law, and we met there. Yeah,
Just like that?
just like that.
Boom.
Okay, how did you approach her? Like, was it the classic case of like,
Oh, right,
you
right,
saw
right.
this girl in class and
Right,
you're like,
right. Yeah.
look at that lawyer girl.
What
you know?
was the journey?
Right. Right off the bat, she told me she liked me before I did. So,
Okay.
Yeah. So it's maybe not the classic.
All right, yeah. Obviously, we'll get Lydia on the show to verify that.
Verify.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Go on. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
she made the first move. Okay.
Yeah.
Go
No,
ahead.
like-
She
so-
confessed first.
Yeah, she did.
Oh.
But she had a very smart way of doing it. Okay, but anyway, I met her in BAC. I was setting up the CF there, so I just grabbed a bunch of people who I knew attended church, and she was one of them. So then we began to get close. At the time, I was pursuing someone else, and she was also in a relationship with someone else. Then we were friends, and then life changed. And then at some point in time, she told me. Well, actually, she wrote it in a letter, and she let me read the letter, and that's how I found out.
She wrote it in a letter.
So here's what happened, right? We were in a cell group back then, the same cell group in church, and we were tasked to write a letter to ourselves in like a few months,
Okay.
right? And it's kind of like a keep yourself accountable kind of thing. Right? So we wrote a letter, and we would kind of say, I want in 6 months' time to do this.
Okay.
And then we will pass it to the CG leader, and in 6 months' time, he'll give it back. she was staying in Singapore then, so she passed me the letter that I was supposed to pass to the CG leader. She had written,
Oh my
"Tell Lu
gosh.
Zhong I like him."
Oh my
Okay,
gosh.
But she thought, hey, big brain move here. Why not just let him read it so I don't need to tell him? Let him tell him, right?
Yeah.
So she asked me to read it, and that's how I found out.
So you read it?
So technically, she did not write a letter to herself. She wrote a letter for you.
Well, it was probably intended to herself, and then it's like brain blast. Like, oh my gosh.
She wrote the letter to herself, to you through herself.
Wow.
This is all right.
Yeah.
This is going
Okay.
deep.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
Dune.
So, but that's how she told me, and then a few months later, we decided to give it a try.
All right. So okay. So let me ask you this: so I'm sure at that time you kind of I mean, obviously you weren't pursuing someone else, and she wasn't in a relationship at that time. So clarify.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what was going through your mind when she was like, "Hey, can you read the letter that I wrote to myself that I'm asking you to pass to the CG leader?" Like, what were you thinking? You know what?
Yeah. So context, we were really, really good friends along with two other of our classmates, right? So we would be, at that point, we were Skyping every night.
Wow.
And this was before pandemic, right? We were like 2014, 2015, we were Skyping every night. And we would fall asleep that kind of close. Play games, like, online games and all. So, but generally, Lydia and myself were close. So it almost felt like she just wanted to let me read whatever it is, maybe. So I didn't think too much about it. I was shocked when I saw it. But at the time, I did not have an interest for her yet, right? So, I mean, I knew she was pretty, right? But there wasn't really an attraction. So when I saw it, I was like, whoa, right? Very honest reaction was, whoa. But then, very soon after that, I knew, I just kept it casual with her. I'm like, hey, it's okay, right? And then I started teasing her.
Wait.
Oh my God.
Wait, so let's walk that back a bit.
Yeah.
You read the letter,
Yeah.
which she confessed her
Yeah.
feelings for you, and you just went, "Hey, chill, all right."
No, because I knew, so we were like very close friends, right? And I'm sure one of the things that was concerning her was, is this going to change things, right? Like, is this going to make things awkward? So what I did was tell her, no it's not right? Like,
Okay.
It's totally not, it's going to be fine. And so we were still very close friends after that. And it was only until a few months later on when I was like, okay, she likes me. And she also began to attend church a lot more. She was attending the cell group that I was in. She was serving in CF, and she was really wanting to learn more at the time. And I think those were kind of like mini green flags for me to go, okay, let's explore.
Right.
And that's how I said, hey, let's try. Let's go on dates.
So it's not like you immediately like started teasing her and you're like, "Hey,
No
chill,
lah.
I mean, you did acknowledge somehow that you were open to exploring and to.
At the point, not really, but I did say, like, I mean, this is not going to affect our friendship. Like, it's totally fine. But not to overcomplicate, because I also don't want to plant seeds or like,
Yeah. Because the reason I ask is because, I mean, so many times when somebody confesses to you, all right, and especially when you're like kind of taken off guard, and sometimes you do not know how to react, right? Like, are you like, actually I don't know, right? Or like, oh man, like, oh wow, ooh, I don't know how to react, what, like, and some people like they always act rashly, and
No, it's true. Yeah.
so it's interesting to hear your point that we like you and Lydia, you were friends first, and then the first thing you did was to assure her that, look, this is not going to affect our friendship.
Yeah.
And acknowledge that she had, acknowledge that she had, what's that word? That she confessed to you.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times, like, it's either like you're like, hey, this is not going to affect our friendship, but then like you kind of avoid that first, right?
And you
Yeah.
But
ghost them.
you've
Yeah. But I mean, real talk, right? One of the things as well is the tendency is when people tell you that they like, or that they like you, you want to keep them on the hook because it feels good to be wanted.
Yeah.
Right, but that may not be the honoring thing to do because that doesn't help them get clarity as to what needs to happen, right?
So so that brings me to my question, which is how did you keep your friendship with her? Because you said after that,
yeah.
how did that look like, or how did that happen?
I think I didn't overcomplicate it. I acknowledged, and I said, and of course she was like shy and all, but I was like, hey, it's okay lah, right? This is an effect, and of course because we were super super close, I knew the way to break the ice was to crack jokes, right? But I mean that's also because we were very very close.
So what was one joke you used? Do you remember?
I don't know if we want to spoil this show
I
with
can't
it.
remember. But I think just coming back, ensuring that they are not left in the dark.
Right.
Right. And I think honor is a very important thing because very, very often you like it when you're being hunted.
Right.
So you just kind of like, oh, it's okay. And then, it feels good. You go home, you're like, yeah,
Pursued.
I want that. Right. It's nice to be pursued, but is that beneficial for both parties?
Right. Yeah.
Right.
I think that's really great advice.
So did that lead you to, did you do anything that was different after she confessed? Like if you would Skype every night before that, did that have to change without leading her on, or like without over complicating?
Honestly, I can't remember what happened. But it sounds about right lah.
Or did it morph into instead of Skyping with her and the few other friends, you're like just talking to her? Oh, by the way, for those of you who don't know, Skype is like the boomer.
Oh yeah.
Skype is the boomer version of Discord.
Zoom.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Oh yeah, Discord. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
No, but
Except Discord you don't need to dial in. Like
Skype is more the boomer version of Zoom lah.
Skype
correct,
existed
actually.
when I was in university, and that was when a lot of you weren't born yet.
What? You
No
look
lah.
like max 20.
Let that
7.
sink in.
I grew up with Skype.
Lies. You just told me before I pressed record that I look like a 55-year-old man. Okay, you didn't say that.
He was a lot more descriptive.
Verify. Phoebe, how about you? I mean, so who made the first move? Was it you or Ashton?
Ashton. And he was very, very persistent. And it was at that time I didn't like, so he pursued me first. At that time I was not interested in him. And I was coming out of a more complicated like feelings for another person. And I was trying to figure that out. So in that meantime, he came in. And he came in with like a bang. And he was very, very persistent. And then I was just like, who the heck is this guy? And then I had to, it came to a point where I had to tell him actually, like, because he was getting me gifts. Like, he would take note of the little things that I say I like.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then
Riz.
and then he would like kind of he would like surprise me with it. And then it came to a point because I felt like it was moving a bit too quick for me, and I wasn't sure firstly about my feelings for him at that time. Nor did I want to lead him on and start something that I wasn't sure about. And I wanted to set our expectations correctly. So I came to a point where I actually told him like, dude, you need to stop buying me things. Because and I explained the situation to him, and I said that like, I'm not too sure, but I know that I'm not really looking for a relationship with you now. So we had to iron that out. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So
So it went like 0 to 100 really quickly, actually.
How long was the hunt?
So actually, like, I feel like our story I always get a bit shy because I feel like our story is a bit like not very normal. I don't know, especially in the Christian context, because like in Christian circles you always hear that, oh, like your case, right? They know each other, like people know each other for very long, or like they're friends for a certain amount of time, and then they decide to date, and like that's that whole story there. But for Ashton and I, we didn't really know each other before we started talking. We only started talking because of a like ministry trip. It's always the ministry trip, guys.
That's right.
Go to camp.
Yeah, it's always the camps and the ministry trips and the conferences. So conference attendance is shooting up. Anyway, yeah. So so we only started talking then. And then that between when we first started talking and him like confessing, it was about 3 months. Yeah, it was very short. So to me, like, I'm always a bit shy because I'm like, dang, people are gonna think that like we rushed it, or people are gonna think that like we're reckless. But like, it really wasn't. Like, it really wasn't for the both of us because we were very, very like. I think at that point, for Asher and I, we also have been through, because we've been through like, I've been through like relationships before, like heartbreaks before. He has also done. So at that point, we were already at a point where we knew that like we needed to talk to somebody, and we wanted to, be clear before we proceeded with anything else. But yeah, so it was about 3 months. And then he started talking to me, and the whole hunt was about another 3 months as well. So yeah, it's about there.
Just about half a year of that happening.
I think so.
Kind of like figuring out, getting to know each other.
Yeah, correct.
All right. So in any point in that 6 months, were like, did you or Ashton feel like, you know what, I'm ready, or like I'm ready to start. Let's skip this, get to know you better phase, and I think I know you enough to say, yeah, I wanna commit, to you. Like how did that go? How did that 6 months go? How do you guys set like what boundaries?
Yeah, I think for the both of us, that leads to our perspective of dating, right? Like our understanding of dating. So at least for me, I don't think there was really a point that, there was a point where I said like, okay lah, like I've done my research. It's like I've done my research. I've dug up everything that I can about this person in that sense. I've done the necessary preparations, like, and I think for me it was just at that point where I said like, am I willing to? For me it was a lot of like entrusting my heart for this person,
right?
In this person's hands, and also am I willing to make room for a relationship as well. Make room for all that a relationship will bring lah. Like all that I have to commit to. And for me at that time, that included it sounds a bit weird, but for me it was adjusting to the fact that I'm not single anymore in that sense. And that means that I cannot or like that changes the way that I interact with like guys, or like when I'm around guys,
right?
I no longer think like, does this guy like me, or like, or should I like? I think it's a natural instinct to like. I don't know, but I guess for girls, like, there's a natural instinct to like, I'm trying to like impress this guy.
Got it.
So for me, that was the change, and for me, that even though that's like a trivial thing, but for me, like that was part of the decision. Am I willing to now enter this, right? I think for him, it was the same thing as well. It wasn't really am I ready to jump into this kind of thing?
Okay.
Because we know that for the both of us, we know that like with dating, it's a ground to explore one another. I mean, to get to know one another and to like kind of like assess whether one another would be suited as a marriage partner.
Yep.
So we had that in mind lah.
Yep.
And if it worked out, then okay lah. Like we knew that we would do whatever we can to make it work. But at the end of the day, if it didn't, then okay lah. Yeah. So yeah. So I think that was more. It was more of that perspective.
Yep.
Yeah.
I do want to clarify something as well to like the viewers, especially like we're not saying like the three of us seated here are the relationship experts or gurus in any regard. But I mean, we couldn't afford to hire those gurus.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, I think we're here, and I'm just glad that Lu Zhong and Phoebe are here, just so open to share about their experience, and they're cell group leaders as well, so they would have in a sense, encountered CG members who would share with them, like, hey, this guy say he like me, how, that sort of thing. So we are coming from an angle, and we are in no way, in case you're wondering, saying that we are the experts.
No.
Love guru.
Yeah, anything but the experts.
That's right.
Many mistakes.
I really like how the both of you have shared about, like, when either one of, so when Lydia or when Ashton, they like kind of confessed that the both of you didn't just jump straight in. And I like that the both of you took time, to kind of to get to know each other, and I firmly believe that friendship is the foundation of a relationship. And that's why when somebody, when a couple says that, oh, actually, I don't really know this person, I don't really know, but I'm attracted to him, and therefore I'm just going to jump into a relationship. I usually caution them to say, don't jump in yet, just get to know him better, or get to know her better, just hang out.
Actually, on that point, right, I have many people that have told me that before, and I say, okay, you say you're attracted to the person, but by what are you attracted, right? What is your definition of attraction, right? Because if you don't know the person,
how can you be attracted to them?
Or you could be, but it may just be looks. It may just be, right? And for many and for a large portion of the world, that is probably the baseline in which you would go, hey, let's give it a shot, right? But I think I'm a strong believer that every relationship is always a risk, right? There's always an element of risk, but if it doesn't work out, somebody is gonna get hurt. But that is an aspect of the risk. So we better make sure that we put in some sort of effort, right, to mitigate that risk, right? So do we give ourselves enough room? And this is something I always ask a lot of the younger ones that come to me. I say, are you giving yourself a chance to say no? Right? Because if you're both so attracted to each other and you spend all your time together and you say, okay, we're going to make a decision in a month, but every day of that month you spend your time with each other, there's no chance of giving yourself there's no chance you're going to say no. Right?
Yeah.
So getting to know each other also means, like what you guys did, setting some sort of boundaries so that you give yourself a fair chance to pull out. Because if not, we're humans, right? If I find you attractive and you find me attractive, no reasonable human is going to pull out. Right?
So segueing into that phase of getting to know each other better, so what are some things to look out for in kind of finding a relationship or like deciding? So, I mean, I think Phoebe was the one that suggested that in their cell group, they played this red flag, green flag thingy. So what are some red flags?
It was fun.
And what are some green flags? So so maybe share on some red flags.
I love asking people what their red and green flags are.
Right. So Phoebe, why don't you explain to everyone, like, okay, what do you mean by red flags and what do you mean by green flags? And for the colorblind people like myself and Ashton and William,
you will see as brown.
Green means
it depends.
gold.
No, it depends on we'll do an episode on color blindness.
Yeah.
But what do you mean by like red flags and what do you mean by green flags?
So no, we say it as if I coined it's not me. So this term came from like it's Gen Z culture. So from what I know, because if not, Gen Zs are gonna come and bash me. But anyway, from what I know, red flags are like signs, like they are signs that you see in a person that would tell you that this person is it's not it lah. Right? Like it's gonna be either damaging or it's not gonna work out.
Like if they bite their toenails.
Yeah, sure.
But Naomi bites her toenails.
I think that's a physical like.
So to clarify, Naomi is his
1 year
one-year-old
old daughter.
Daughter. Just in case you're wondering.
Red flag.
Why does
Maybe
Naomi bite her toenail?
there's nothing else to think.
Survival.
Okay, what
instinct.
else? Yeah. Okay. So
So red flags are like the nose lah. Like,
right.
Then the green flags are the opposite. So the green flag you see and like, wow, this is like good. Like sign me up. Tick.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So why don't you start? What are some red flags that you look out for?
I think for me a red flag is if the guy is being dishonest.
Okay.
Like, but I think this is also like relationship and also like with people, like with friendships, just in general. But more so in a relationship, like, because if the guy can lie to you, or if the guy if the guy as a friend can't, or a person interested in you can't be honest with you, to me, then it's like, like what more in a relationship lah, right? Like yeah. So I think honesty is very important to me, and transparency is very important to me. So simple things like what are you doing now, or like where are you, or like if the guy is traveling, and then like or even like if the guy has I don't know, if the person has like issues with his own friend groups and it's like this about dishonesty, I think for me that's if given on one hand, I don't know the full story, but I think if I do find out the full story, like and like either way to me is like shouldn't I shouldn't.
Right. So dishonesty is a huge red flag for you.
Yeah, it's very important to me.
How about you, Lu Zhong?
I kind of categorize red flags into two. Red flags that speak of in my mind it's like red flags that speak of the character of the person, and then red flags that speaks of the maturity of the person.
Okay.
So I give you an example, right? For maturity, a very classic example is if let's say you want to confess to a girl.
Okay.
Right, and you want to be transparent to go, but like, hey, I want to honor you. I want to let you know that I'm actually attracted to you, and I'm doing this, and you do this as well, so that the girl doesn't unknowingly lead you on. Because if you don't tell the girl, and the girl 1 year later finds out that, oh my gosh, you've liked me this whole time. What, like, you know? Now a red flag would be she is totally like, she just reacts horribly and she's like, oh my god, right? But a green flag would probably be I think if she can digest that and appreciate the fact that there's some sort of maturity there, and maybe very honestly tell you, hey, thanks for letting me know. I think that's a green flag, right? If you tell them that and they cannot take that well, I think that's a red flag as to maturity. Characters would be things that you talked about, right? Dishonesty. I think for me, personally, one of the things is, I'm going to caveat this, we're very honest, right? Ladies who maybe dress a certain way.
Okay.
Right? If they dress a little bit promiscuously.
All right.
Promiscuous is a big word.
Sorry. Less cloth. Right?
Okay.
No, but I think that's one, right?
Yeah.
I think a second one
Wait, so is that a red flag or green flag?
No,
for
it's
you?
a red flag. It's a red flag. I think
Clarify.
I think another one would also be maybe this is more of a green flag. I like it when the girl is thrifty.
Okay.
Right. So but those are things that for me speaks of characters that I look for.
All right.
Right. So that would be those and then there are some that are about maturity.
Thrifty.
This is very specific.
Thrifty in every sense?
Well, I think
like what
I think thrifty may not be the best word, but
I think draw the line between thrifty and skimpy, or like
like cheap.
Cheapo, yeah.
Right. No, I think it's more like
add water to the milk kind.
Yeah, or like add water to your
add water to the
shampoo.
Milk? What does that mean? Oh, milk.
Or like when you know, so like
shampoo lah.
So no, like when you go and eat, then it's like, hey, let's share one meal. But let's not finish this meal because let's save this.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Or like
if
calculative.
Yeah.
Right. No. I think for me it's more like if they're okay wearing, if they don't need to wear certain brands. I think, but this is personal lah. Right.
Okay.
I think that's fine if you do. But for me personally, that would be something that'll be my red flag.
That's fair. That's fair.
That's Ashton's red flag as well. Like cannot eat chicken rice from a kopitiam kind.
Oh, like you must eat like
must eat like
Colosseum
atas.
Hainanese chicken rice.
At least 3-star chicken
right.
rice kind. Yeah.
So that's his red flag.
Yeah, that is the same. Yeah.
No, because Ashton very obviously only wants to eat chicken rice for the rest of his life.
That's a different agenda.
It's a different agenda.
Ashton has answered this question. If he could eat one meal for the rest of his life, it would be chicken rice.
We should get Ashton on this show. Why?
What?
I just asked him. He's recently changed it to pizza because he said there's more variety. Chicken rice you can get sian. So he's a
what?
fake chicken rice.
Okay. Wait. I can't accept this. Wow. Ashton. Whoa.
You have changed.
All right. What else? What else are some like red flags that so let's bring it back to your relationship with Lydia and your relationship with Ashton. So what were some red flags? What were some green flags that you caught in that period of like getting to know each other better and all that?
I think for me, so again, a lot of this right out there, a lot of this is personal for me. And I wanted someone who desired to learn more about God for me, right? So seeing Lydia, to give you guys context, right? After she confessed to me, and then there was a few months of gap, right? And then after that, I told her, okay, let's try. So we went on dates. And the objective of those dates it was awkward at first because we were best friends, and then we would go and then we'll be like, hey, we're on a date, right? But the objective of the date was to talk about very specific things, like,
Right.
hey, actually, what do you think about family? You know, like do you want kids? Because if I find out from day one that you don't want kids and I want kids, let's it's great that we realize this now and not like 2 years into the relationship, right? So those were green flags for me. And I think in that sense, we set it up so that we could identify those green and red flags very early on. We went on very intentional dates. We dressed up, right? Quite cute we went. And then we would talk about all the questions that we had that as friends, maybe you don't really talk about, but like, hey, how's your relationship with your parents? You know, like what do you envision your family looking like? For instance, if you want kids, great. How many kids do you want? Because I wanted a pretty big family.
Which date did you guys start having these soft conversations?
So I think the moment I made it clear to her that, okay, let's explore this. So we went from friends to we're now exploring. But again, the reason why this phase for me is so important is because while we may know each other well as friends, it's important for us to figure out given that you have the opportunity to talk about these topics like family, things that are really important to you, right? For instance, if she says, hey, actually, I really want to migrate to, like, I don't know, Scandinavia.
Uzbekistan.
Right, Uzbekistan, right? I was going to say Turkmenistan. Anyway,
We want to apologize to the Turkmenistan people.
Yep.
You will learn
Yeah,
how to
you
pronounce your country.
I apologize. But
you need to represent.
yeah. So, but I think if she has these dreams, then this is the place to talk about it, right?
Right.
So that's how we did it. We went on intentional dates.
So your point is, look, like, would you say that your advice or your point is, don't be afraid to like ask questions that are close to your heart. So like for you, like family is important for
Yeah.
you. Like
Absolutely.
yeah.
And if let's say you ask a question, she's like, oh, it's too deep lah. Oh, actually, I'm not really. Now that for me may be a red flag as to maturity, because I'm not looking for a play relationship anymore. I had enough of that in high school.
Okay.
Right? Like whatever relationship I was looking forward to, if we have a chance to figure out, at least to the best of our ability, what are some of the
Right.
non-negotiables, right? The essentials. Then let's do that up front lah.
Right.
And if we can be mature about it, and if we realize that, hey, this is not going to work out, let's establish that here.
Yep.
Right.
Okay. No, I think my only not concern, because I agree with that. Like if you want to get into a relationship, you've got to be serious enough to like, I want to know this person.
Yeah.
And like, I want to know everything about this person. Is this person, what their in the values? Like, do our values match? But I'm just thinking, like, okay, do you jump straight into that topic? When
No,
you know what I mean?
You're right.
Like,
you're right.
So when do you go in there? Like,
Yeah.
when you go on that first date, after establishing that, hey, we like each other, and all that. Hey, but let's just take it easy. Let's get to know each other better. Like, bam, first date. How many children do you want to have? Let's have a village.
No,
I
you're
like
right.
you. Oh, I like
No,
you
you're
too.
right,
So
you're
how
right.
many kids do you want to have?
Yeah.
No, you're right. I think for us, we were close friends, which is one thing. We spent a lot of time together.
So you really had that.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was
So I think
already established.
yeah, true. So again, I think like what Terry said, and I agree. Friendship is an important pillar. I think, right? It gives you a chance to get to know the person before you even review your emotions. Because if you spend enough time with the person, you see how they interact with friends, and you see a red flag, you just saved yourself a lot of time, right? But after that, you're probably right. The first date, it's like, oh, we're on a date, hee hee. It's that's like, ooh, cute, right? But I think it's also finding someone who you can be real with and be like, hey, this is really important for me. If this is difficult for some of you guys to envision, it's also important for you guys to figure out what's non-negotiable for you in a relationship, right?
Right.
It's not just let's see what happens. Let's just go with the flow, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Phoebe, what do you think? Like, when did you guys have, you know what I mean? Like that level of conversation.
Wow. I think ours came.
Again, like you guys dated when you were how old?
It was 2019, so I was 19.
All right,
He's-
so you were
he's
still
22.
students, and
Yeah, I was still in uni. He was also still in uni.
but you were older. I guess like an older university student.
Yeah,
He was
yeah.
already he was still in uni that time as well. But
Yeah.
a 22-year-old. So I guess I think my point is, it's not strange because you guys kind of know your partners already. But I'm just thinking you know what I mean? Like I'm just thinking for like if there is someone out there watching that's like, you know what, I like this girl and she is showing she's
Signs.
reciprocating
Yeah.
and she's agreed to go out like roll a while with me.
Right. First date's probably not the date for you to go like,
So
do
what?
you want kids?
So like, okay, so I'm gonna take Lu Zhong's advice and I'm gonna boom. How many children do you want?
Fair.
When was the last time you hugged your dad? You know, like you know, like
the last time
you know this kind of questions like, are you closer to your grandma on the mom's side or the dad's side? You know, that sort of thing.
But
Yeah.
actually, I think for Asher and I, because we weren't friends for that long, like we didn't really know each other for that long. Like I would say like for us, those conversations didn't come that quick also. At least like we weren't that open to, we didn't talk about it with each other. So it was things that we were already thinking of, but like individually, but we didn't. I also felt like it was a bit too soon.
Right.
Right.
Like I barely know this guy, right? And but I think that's where for us, like actually you reminded me of another red flag that I would have.
I reminded her of a red flag.
You
Dang.
Glad to know.
Yeah, no, but I think my red flag would have been no, but I think my red flag would have been if he wasn't able to hold not even like deep conversations, but just
A decent conversation.
Right.
Like it would I think that would have been my sign that like, oh, maybe this is not the person for me
Right.
right? Because I think it was time that allowed us to get to those kind of conversations. Partly it was also, I think for most of it is also that we looked very far also into
Right.
our relationship. Like we charted how individually we
Right.
charted how far the longevity of our relationship in that sense.
Okay.
So we had that foresight already that like in the future, if we are serious about this, that would have to come up sometime.
Okay.
Those conversations. So it was just we had it. It's just not. It's just whether it's a matter of time, lah, right? But
Yeah.
I think the bridge for that, from where we were to there, I think it really was the intentionality to hold conversations with one another, and like the intentionality to not just know that like, oh, this person is, I like this person because, you know, like he will be a good boyfriend or like he'll be a good partner. But I think to look past that and to see, for me, it was very important to see whether this person would
There
be
was a
able
future
to,
with him.
yeah, this person
Yeah.
would be, and that came from looking
Right.
at the people around me,
Yeah. Right.
people like my mom, people like
Right.
you know, my friends,
Yeah.
my older friends,
Yep.
of course, people in church, right?
Yep.
Being able to give you that foresight.
Right.
If not, I think if it was just me, I think if it was when I was 16-year-old, like,
Yeah.
yeah, I think it was more of that dreamy of like,
Yeah.
you know, like, oh, like I really like this person, and of course I
Yeah.
can see a future with him.
Yep.
But I think with Ashen, it was a lot of coming to ground with that.
Yeah.
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 Actually, I have a question for you, Terry.
Mm.
So I realized that, you know, Lydia and my relationship, and maybe Ashton and Phoebe's relationship, we had it at a slightly older age, right? Like after high school, right? But we've also made, I mean, at least for me, right? I've made many mistakes in the past, right? But we are kind of at this point where we have tried, and you know, we are kind of, let's just look for something a little bit more long term. But I can imagine some of them who are maybe a little bit younger, right? Who are in high school, and you like this person and the person likes you, right? How much foresight does there need to be at that point of relationship, right? I mean, just hear your thoughts, because I think from both of us, our experience, at least this current relationship that we're in, till death do me part, current relationship that we're in.
Yeah, you better because you're married.
Correct. Yeah.
You have no, you're locked in, bro.
Right, locked in. Right, but I don't know. What do you think about
Yeah. That's a
someone younger?
Okay, my take is that if you want to get into a relationship, like if you like it, to me it's about commitment. Are you ready to be responsible to fulfill that commitment to that person?
Right.
And if you're saying that, no, I'm only a 16-year-old, and I'm obviously not ready to get married, but I like this person, and I wanna get into this relationship, I would ask that question.
Right.
How far do you want to take this? I mean, look, I've had the privilege of journeying with a lot of young people, at that stage, and you were one of them,
Yeah.
at one point as well. And I asked the same question.
Yeah.
Okay, what do you like about this person? I asked all these red flags, green flags, of course not in such a formal way, but I was like, yeah, what do you see? And like a lot of times, the answers that were given me were like, oh, I'm not really sure, but I want to pursue. I want to get to know. And I'd be like, get to know this person. But you don't have to be in
Yeah.
you don't have to be in a relationship. Just get to know this person. Get to know them better. And until in a sense you're ready, to some extent, to say, yeah, I know enough, and to pursue this person to a point where I think I can see us being together.
Yeah, that's true. Because I know many people, they at that point,
Yeah.
they kind of lock it in, and in their mind, and when I push and ask questions, actually the main reason is, what if this person dates someone else?
Yeah.
Like, what if
Yeah.
I miss the chance, right? And you want to kind of like secure it now,
Right.
But then my question would be like, if you're a Christian, then I'll say, who's the provider of your relationship?
Right.
Honestly, right? Is it you who is planning now, or is it God? Like, does God
Yeah.
know your interests and the desires of your heart better than you do?
Yeah. I mean, like, quite honestly, I had personally at one point, I was, okay, I'm trying to look for the right words. So I was, what's that? I was, what's the word like when you, in MMA, when they're like strangling you and you tap out, like, no, I was resigned. So I was resigned to,
Right.
like not be in relationships at one point in my life, because I was in my 30s, and I was in a couple, not a lot, but like a couple of like failed relationships.
Yeah.
Ones that I thought that this was the one we pursued, but just didn't work out.
Yeah.
And yeah, I was resigned to like, you know what, I'm done with relationships. And I knew all these things, like, I knew like God had designed, and of course, I mean, obviously I don't quite believe that God had designed like a specific person for me.
Yeah.
Because I thought that with like the first person I dated, I was like, you are the one, and I unknowingly I put a lot of pressure on that person, or like put on pressure on myself as well in this relationship, because
Yeah.
you're like, hey, we have to make this work, although like it was like multiple red flags for both parties.
Yeah.
But I had resigned to that, until the point when, I mean, I knew my wife now, Rose, for many, many years. So the foundation of our friendship was like really, really solid. And we were super friend zoned until like to the point where we didn't even think about what it would be like to be together. We were like, that friend zone was like, it was like a fortress. It couldn't be, I think you get what I mean, but like, ministry, yeah. But look, okay, I'm coming to a point here. So at the point where I was resigned to like, okay, God, I think I'm okay.
Yeah.
I was destined to not get married, not be in a relationship. But it was almost like a matter of like overnight, almost like, all right, where like the Lord had changed my heart for Rose. And at the same time, the Lord changed Rose's heart for me as well.
Yeah.
So I do believe that God has a hand in, ensuring that we are in the relationships that would glorify Him ultimately together. And I think this whole topic about red flags and green flags, I do also believe that in the process of getting to know each other better, right, that's what the Holy Spirit does. It prompts within us like, hey, ask this question. Or like, hey, are you really okay with Him doing that to you? Or like, are you really okay with like the boundaries that you guys are breaking? These things, like, I believe that's what the Holy Spirit puts within us, I mean, when I was going out with Rose, when we got together, and I mean, it was a very strange feeling for the first couple of months, because we're such good friends, right? Like, I mean, it took us like 2 months maybe to hold hands, that sort of thing. But I do remember that one thing that I really loved about our relationship was that we did not need to be in the get to know each other better phase.
Yeah.
And we knew about these sort of things about each other, like, do we want a family? how we honor our parents,
Yeah.
and that's important for the both of us. So like when we go into a relationship, like we like both of us knew like this is the one, but not because like the Lord had laid upon us a prophecy or like. Like a dove came and like united our hair together, the sort of thing. But it was just clear that when our hearts changed for each other and then we confessed to each other, it was very clear that this is the one. Yeah. But do you guys because a lot of times, I've heard it countless of times where people would go, yeah, she's the one, or like the Lord has prepared this person for me.
Yeah.
Some worked out,
But then,
yeah.
I
So what would you say to like our viewers who like kind of like they're going through that right now? They're like, like what would you advise them? What would be some of the things that you would do?
What, like in cases like they thought that they
or like you think that the person you're dating is the one.
is the one, and then you break up.
Well, I mean, maybe you're in a relationship now and you think the person is the one, but how do you navigate that emotion, right? I don't know. For me, I think two things to my mind, right? One, I personally don't believe in the one, but I think if you're in a relationship and you're in a serious relationship, of course you have to believe that this is the person you're going to marry. Right? Like it would be weird if you go, I'm committed to you, but you may not be the one.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, any sane person who invests time and emotions in the relationship, there's some belief there, right? But I think, for me, I think that God is bigger than that, right? And I think the second thing, and since we're on this topic, I really want to mention this, right? I've had so many young couples who come to me and they are struggling in terms of compatibility, but they begin quoting scripture about like, I need to love this person unconditionally. I need to care. And the one thing I always tell them is, hey, do you know that the Bible speaks very little about dating and almost all about marriage? So the danger is when we start applying marital principles to dating,
Right.
and you start realizing that I cannot back out. We have to make this work because like our parents, you have to, right? But the reality is, no, you date. And as part of dating, you're going to learn more about the individual. That's one of the things that I asked you. Do you remember when I was first dating Lydia? Very honestly, I said, hey, Terry, I'm concerned that I ran out of reasons to why I love her. And I remember your answer to today. You told me, Zhong, I'm still learning new reasons why I love Rose every day.
That's right.
What makes you think? No, but honestly, right? Like in that moment, that was the affirmation I needed because I was kind of like, I was clouded, right? I felt like, crap, if I ran out of reasons to why I like Lydia or love Lydia, that means, is this fake? But no, I think as part of your dating, you are learning more about the person, right? And so, all this to say, of course you invest in a relationship, but I don't think you need to put the pressure on yourself that I have to marry this person. If not, I'm failing God and I'm failing my family or not, because there are incompatibilities.
Yeah.
And that's okay. Right? What's important is that we honor each other and we honor God in the process.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, that's my view.
Yeah. I think in that regard, I totally resonate with that. I think in, the first relationship that I got into, I think we had done all we like kind of had a checklist. Like, oh, did we fast? Did we pray? Like, did God give a sign? Did we talk to our leaders in church?
Wow.
And all those things. And it was all like ticked. And I think from the start of our relationship, we're like, God brought you into my life to be my wife from the start. And then like as we, the dove with the hair, I don't know why I have that imagery, but as we went on, both of us were starting to realize things like, hey, that's a red flag, man. Like what? Like you like what? You did that? Like what? You believe in this? And like stuff like that. And I think our relationship went on for about two years plus. And throughout that period of time, there were many times when we were clear, like cannot. Our values, our beliefs, and what we wanted in life was very, 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 very different.
Yeah.
But we. Like I hung on because I was like, but God.
Yeah.
you are the like she was the
predestined.
one. Like how can you know?
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
I was
yeah.
just hanging on to it, like and it in a sense it didn't end well, And I think I was kind of disillusioned a bit after we broke up. She was, I know for a fact because she believed that as well, and it took a long time, in a sense for both of us to get over it.
Yeah.
So I mean, like I'm not trying to send across a message to say like no, don't honor God, or like no, don't have the end in mind when you start a relationship. But I think let's also be real in a sense that when you get into that courting phase, into that dating phase, explore and learn about the other person, and don't set like that pressure from the start, like hey, God send you.
Yeah, we
to
have
me.
to make this
like
work, right?
no, like let's be real and say like I want to build this relationship. I want to eventually see if we can spend a life together. But let's learn about each other and be real with each other lah.
Yeah.
And of course, like a lot of people kind of deem that as like then you're setting yourself for a safety net, and to like jump or parachute, like jump off, to just leave. No, again, it's your attitude, it's your posture lah.
Yeah, and or some people may go, where's the emotion? Where's the love? Where's the feeling, right? But like, love doesn't sustain the relationship, right? I mean, there's this saying, love doesn't sustain the relationship, right? The relationship and the discipline sustains the love, because there are going to be some days when I don't feel like loving Lydia, and some days that you don't feel like loving Rose, and you don't feel like loving Ashton. You got to love them anyway, right? I mean, especially in a marriage lah, because we have committed before man and before God that I'm going to marry you and I'm going to love you till the day. And that love is a verb, right? So in the same way, again, I see this so often, right? Where people dating have and God-loving, Bible-believing Christians have no other reference point but the Bible to apply in their relationships. And they start applying this, I have to agape love you. I have to love you unconditionally. It's good guidelines, but you cannot apply the same marital standards, marital standards to a dating relationship.
But so like both of us are married, but let's ask Phoebe. Like so right now in your relationship with Ashton, like has that conversation about like marriage and all like been something that's been kind of like stressful for you or Ashton, or like do you like no, I think the both of you feel like it's the right time?
Yeah, so as you were sharing just now, actually, it reminded me that actually Ashton and I, so this is our 5th year dating. Correct. Yeah, 5th year.
Correct. Something like that.
To break the stereotype, Ashton remembers the dates better than me. Okay. Anyway.
We also remember the. Okay, anyway, continue.
Anyway, what was I saying? Yeah, then it reminded me that actually, so this is our 5th year of dating, and actually we didn't start talking about marriage and kids and all these things until it feels quite recent actually. Probably probably last year we really started talking about marriage, but it wasn't in a sense that we didn't know that we didn't want to marry each other. I think by like our 3rd year, I was quite clear that this is the person that I can and I would like to be married to. And I think and I shared that with him, and then he said that, oh yeah, actually me also, right? So then only I guess last year, then only because of that we started talking about marriage a lot more,
right?
And we started envisioning I guess how many kids do you want, you want a dog or whatever, all these fun things, where do you want to stay. Recently, a fun thing that we started to talk about is we debate on where the areas that we want to live in and things like that lah. But yeah, that's only quite recent. Anyway, yeah. So what was the question again?
No, so did you feel like at any point the both of you were pressured into talking about marriage?
No, I don't. So I think because of that, it came very naturally. For the both of us, I don't think we didn't really feel the pressure of.
Right.
Yeah, I did wonder actually, when we would when are we gonna, when should I ask him about his plans for marriage and what the future of our relationship is. But that was only in the 3rd or 4th year.
Okay.
When we because Asha and I are very different in personalities as well, And I actually didn't really, like, like, there were many times actually in our relationship that I felt actually uncertain. And I think he felt the same way as well. So actually we came to a point, there were two big arguments that we had that that we actually considered breaking up. And we came really, really close to breaking up. And actually, like, from what you were sharing just now as well, right? Like, for us, like, what sustained our relationship, we're very different, like, in terms of personality. But I think when we started dating, even, you know, like, as both Christians, right, even our certain principles and certain beliefs that we had were also very different. But you can easily argue that, like, yeah, if we came in with that perspective that, like, no, you know, like, this is what God has this is what God has given to us, so we must put that aside and steward it well. I think if we came in with that, like, we wouldn't have wrestled through those conversations the way that we did.
Right.
But wrestling through those conversations, like, were really, like, I think it helped us to bring clarity into, like, it helped me bring clarity into actually, like, what matters to me in a partner, actually. Like, are these things that I can, so not just in a partner, but I think for my faith as well. Like, yeah, it helped me to bring clarity as to, actually, where do I stand with all these things? Are these things important to me, actually?
Right.
More so than a relationship? Are these things that I would be willing to, you know, like, put my relationship aside for?
Yeah.
And when we wrestled with that individually and we wrestled with that together, I think, like, that's really where I saw God have his hand in our relationship. So I think in our relationship, it wasn't that, like, oh, God, like, I think, yes, God did orchestrate, like, all of this, right? But it wasn't really that, like, oh, like, you know, like, it's so spiritual, you know, like, this is the man for me, you know, like, we really love each other, like, no matter what, that kind of thing. But I think I saw God's hand in how he helped us how we navigated all these conversations. And the fruits of that is that it didn't just strengthen our relationship, but it strengthened, I think, both our faith as well. And I think for me, that puts really into perspective, like, a Christian relationship and what that can look like. Yeah.
All right. So just based on that, it's a good time to ask this question. So you mentioned about the differences, right? So in the midst of, like, getting to know each other, it's easy for us to hold on to the stuff that we resonate with, you know, that we agree with. But I'm sure there are perspectives or principles, like, say you mentioned principles just now. So how should we handle those differences in a relationship? Like, how do you guys do it?
I think we had to learn I think we had to be very discerning, actually. Like, we had to firstly allow space for each other. I had to know that, like, I think for me, I had to be humble enough to, I think this is not just in a relationship, but I think it's also a personal thing. Like, it's also a character thing, right? Like, I had to be humble enough to put my own views down first, to know that, like, to be humble enough to say that, like, I don't know everything, and to be willing to listen to him. I think for me, it was also, like, not saying that, like, oh, if you, like, having the maturity to say, and it was built over time. Like, I don't think it was something that I, like, really, like, whoa, I just had it at the start. But I think it was, as I went, it was just something that, like, it was a muscle that that it was trained to know that, like, oh, just because you're my boyfriend, just because you're my partner, and just because we have, you know, marriage in the far side, doesn't mean that in this moment now, it doesn't mean that our spiritual journey has to look exactly the same. And so I think that was my expectation that I placed on our relationship as well. I expected us to, do devotion together every morning, you know, what you said, like a married couple would do. I expected us to share our reflections together, you know, serve together and all those kind of, I think because it's a very nice thing to imagine. Right? yeah, it's like in the package of like imagining a nice family, happy husband, happy wife kind of thing. But I think I had to, so that led me to have to learn that us having differing opinions does not mean that,
Right.
yeah, it doesn't mean that like, it's not a catalyst or like a passport to say that like definitely we're not compatible. But I say that with a caveat, and I say that that's why I say like that's where the discernment really had to come in, because there were some times that I think for me, for the longest time, and I'm sure for him as well, I would question like, actually, like if this goes on, will I be able to
Right.
Yeah.
will I be able to reconcile with this? Will I be able to? One of the things was the way that we serve in church,
Sure.
actually, and that affects our lifestyles,
Yeah.
right? He wasn't. One of the things was that he would question like, or like we had to wrestle with like the frequency of serving, right? And if we had marriage in the far side, right? Like how would that look like? What would be the implications of marriage, of it on marriage? But of course, that's very, very far ahead. But things like that lah, like having to discern it through to say that like, I think then we learn to draw our boundaries very, very clearly.
Right.
But I think most of it, honestly, for us, I don't think I'm really answering the question but it's because I think for us, like I think really when I look back, it's really God's, like it's really through time. It's really, really it wasn't something that we actively worked on, and it wasn't something that I went like, hey, we need to sort this out. We need to have the same theology. We need to have the same principle of this.
Sure.
But it was a lot of conversations.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
It was a lot of, and it was hard because sometimes I remember there was one night we argued on the couch. I was sitting on the couch 2 a.m. just came home from church, and we were talking about like all these things. But it was having all these conversations lah. Being willing to have all these conversations to, I think it's to not brush it off, because it's easier to just brush it off.
Yeah.
Under the guise that like, like, yeah, like, and to me that's putting my faith second, or that's putting
Right.
God second.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lu Zhong, what about you? Like, I mean, was there, maybe you can give an example of a recent conversation of a differing point or a differing perspective?
Yeah. Actually, I mean, I thought of one, but it was when we were dating. So I think firstly, my thought process about disagreements is we can disagree. It's important for us to understand what we're disagreeing about. There are some things that we cannot disagree on, right? I think for me, right? So that's why I'm a strong believer in a triangular relationship with God on top. Because it's the only way where, for instance, I can't disagree that, hey, Lydia, that was rude. And she'd be like, it's fine to be rude, right? I shouldn't be disagreeing about that. But the problem is that if I don't have an objective source of truth in my conversation, it's me against her. It's like, hey, Lydia, why can't you be more like me? I'm not rude. Bam, that's tension. Because I'm not perfect and I cannot be using myself as a yardstick, right? But when I go, hey, this is not honoring God, and I hope you hold me to the same standard that I hold you to, right? That helps actually, in my opinion, it helps resolve a large portion of disagreements and fights that a lot of people have, right? When both parties agree that there is a common yardstick, both of us agree this is the source of truth, right?
Right.
Now, but of course, there will be many things we disagree on that fall outside of that. Or these are the more personal things, right? So one example that we had, I remember till today, was I can count the amount of major fights we had. Like, this is one of them. She was working late, and so Lydia was a lawyer, right? She was working late, and she used to park opposite her office in KL. But the problem is that she worked very late, and she needed to walk across an overhead bridge. And I'll be very concerned for her. I'll be like, dude, you're walking home alone as a lady at like 11, 12, 1, right, in KL City. Like, I'm concerned.
Yeah.
And the car park is one of those like open car park. There's no like, lights and everything, right? So I remember one night she was walking back and I was like, hey, Lydia, why can't you just leave office a little bit earlier? Like, go home and continue to work lah. You don't need to be there, what? And I kept pushing that, and she was like, I can't. And I also have learned that during our dating years, between Lydia and myself, I'm a lot better at articulating. But that's something that I cannot take for granted. Because in the moment she was like, I can't. And I also was like, no, let's settle this tonight, right? So we're talking on the phone. Similar, right? Talking on the phone until like 1 a.m., 2 a.m., 3 a.m. Like, and she's already like, I gotta work tomorrow. I'm so tired. I just OT'd. Like, why are you making me do this, right? And we went to sleep. But my take back. And then after that, the next day, I was reflecting, and I remember I called one of my mentors. Because I couldn't. In my mind, I'm like, wow, how do I process this, right? And the mentor was like, actually, if she has a choice, you think she will stay, man? And that was such a simple question for me because I was not able to see it from her perspective, and I realized that, hey, she's actually the victim here, right? She doesn't want to work late, right?
Yep.
In my mind, it seemed too logical and simple. Just leave lah. But that sort of tension, right, is an example of an argument. Of course, there are many things like her relationship with her mother is very different from my relationship with my mother.
Right.
Right. They are very close. Right. Almost like friends sometimes. Whereas my relationship with my mother is we're friends, but mother-son lah, right? And so sometimes I'm like, wow, actually, I wouldn't use that sort of word with my mother, lor.
Yep.
Then like, hey, next time with our kids, and like, is that okay? Is that not okay? But I've come to realize that so long as we can agree on the main things, then a lot of loving is, conceding on things that are not essential.
Yeah.
Right? And it's being over sacrificial. Like, she likes to wash the dishes now. I'm like, just leave them lah. Later we wash one shot lah.
You should never leave your dishes.
Okay, sorry. So for me, I'm like just water once lah. Why wash water so many times, right? And then she's like, no. But when I see the dishes, I just wash lor. Right? Like, I mean, like,
well done.
Right? But sometimes when I don't wash, she see it. She know that I will wash, so like she won't be like I told you to. Yep, it's just right. Yep. It's not like that lah. So it's both parties being sacrificial about it, I feel.
Yeah, it's a give and take. I think like it's the posture you have when you resolve differing. I wouldn't say principles. Principles are very strong.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like principles are like, okay, principles should not differ too much. But I'm talking about like best practices or like maybe beliefs. Preferences, but there are some things that you should not
disagree on.
I mean, if you disagree on that too often, like for example, sex before marriage, or like if maybe sex before marriage is like whoa, like like up to like 100. But if let's say like how we honor each other's parents, like our own parents, for example, those are things that have to be agreed on, like how we do it. We should agree like, no, I don't think we should talk to our parents that way, for example, or like truthfulness, like, look, let's just be real with each other and let's work on things that we've made mistakes on, for example. Like, I think those things that you should not defer too long on, and you should come to a resolution.
And if you can't to it, then it's important to talk it out and what we said lah, right? If it's if it's something that's important enough and it doesn't work out, like, it's okay. Like, you all are in your first relationship, right? Like, if it just doesn't work out, right?
Yeah, and I think it's quite crucial as well. Like, I think you mentioned like in terms of, you call mentors, and I'm sure Phoebe also, you are people that you speak to help you out in this. I think it's also good to understand that you're not like pursue the relationship alone lah. Or like, like, it's us against the world, like, no lah, jialat lah, then it will really
close to my ears.
But
I think this is one of those things that I would really say that you really need somebody to, like, you need, even if it's just one person, you need a trusted person, a trusted counsel. It really, I won't even say it really helps. Like, it makes that much of a difference. Like, it's really important.
Night and day.
Like, this is the kind of, like, I feel like this is the kind of thing that I would really say that, like, it's really, really important to have that one person or that counsel lah, that you can talk all these things through. Especially like what you said, especially if it's things that you find yourself differing quite a bit. I think for me and Ashton, like for myself, when we were, going through all these, when we had all these differing things at the start of our relationship, like I was thinking about it a lot. Like, it was it occupied most of my mind about our relationship.
Right.
Yeah, and I think having people that I could process it with, because it helps you to be clear as well. I think that clarity is really important, not just as a partner, not just as in your relationship, but as a Christian. Like,
Yeah.
because if it's not in this relationship that you draw these boundaries or you have this clarity, then you will go into the next relationship.
Yeah.
And if it's in the next, if it's not in the rest, you will go into the right. So
Yeah.
So where I
True.
think it's important that we have that clarity lah.
Yeah.
More so because we are
Yeah.
Christians.
And I think on that note, if you find someone, make sure you find someone that is bold enough to say no to you or to tell you you're wrong. Don't go and find someone that will like, yes, girl, yes,
Echo chamber.
like go king, find someone who's willing to say, no, Luzong, you're being dumb right now. Like that's not you, right? And the people that I gave permission to do that, one of them was Terry for many years of my life, would do exactly that. And that's why I need it in the moment, right? Because you're too clouded. Yeah.
Yeah.
Great conversations. Now I feel it's time, the perfect time to, before I draw this to a close, I think it's perfect time to talk about something fun.
This was fun.
Are you guys ready?
Yeah, this is fun.
Something lighthearted and
Right,
fun.
right.
Yeah.
What do you mean?
Let's talk about boundaries.
Okay.
Oh,
Oh,
fun.
lovely.
PDA, yes or no?
Define PDA.
Yeah, what is PDA?
Public displays
Yeah,
of
I
affection.
know what it means,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
like,
like-
is it like
Do you have to hold hands and worship the Lord? Like,
like two hands up, is
like
it?
two hands up in the air to worship the Lord.
like that?
Like-
Right.
What?
Right.
No. So my point is like you can't like let go of each other.
Oh,
You know what I mean? It's like, dude,
right. Like,
you like why?
oh yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
Like, why?
Actually, being honest, right? That actually really bugs me. Like,
Which one? Holding hands while worshiping the Lord?
Or people that are sticky.
Together, hold hands up in the air.
like all
Oh,
of the
pe-
above. Like
right,
both.
right.
Yeah, like especially in. Yeah, I guess especially in church because why do you have to do that? Like why?
It's just affection. It's just
Why?
love.
Okay. Now
But no judgment.
we are
but it's
in
just
no
why.
way. I guess we said it a bit in jest, but I think I'm a physical touch person.
Same.
It scores very high in my love language.
Yeah.
And but I do have in a sense a gauge. All right, in a sense, not gauge. Sorry, yardstick. You use the term yardstick. Yeah. Like I would not do something that my parents would be uncomfortable to see in public. So I always that is my gauge.
Right.
That is what I
It's-
use to gauge
Right.
whether
It's like-
am I
like-
being too much or not.
Yeah, it's
You
like
know?
not saying something you wouldn't say to your grandma. It's like don't say words that you wouldn't say to your
Yeah,
grandparents.
right?
Yeah? Similar, right?
Something like
But
that.
then that's also quite a gray area, right? Because
What?
like if your parents wouldn't like you like
Holding hands?
holding
So,
hands,
yeah.
then how?
No, so that I would not hold hands in front of my
In
parents.
front
in
of
front
them.
of your
like,
parents.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, holding hands is something that different now for me. I dated a very, 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 very close friend of mine. So anyway, holding hands took a while for me and Rose.
Right.
All right. We had our first kiss at our wedding.
It was awkward, man.
It was awkward. It took
was-
us 5 minutes.
Facebook showed me a memory
It
of
was
that.
5 minutes to get to kiss. Yes. So that is my yardstick because I'm not going to stand here and say that. Look, there are rules to relationships. Okay, you shouldn't hold hands in public. You shouldn't hug in public. I mean, like if that's something that, in a sense, both your parents they display as well. Okay, then I would say yeah. But if it's, I wouldn't do it personally because to me, I feel like it would put somebody in an uncomfortable position.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that would be the last thing.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that my partner or, Rose, my girlfriend at that time, she'll be fine if I did not hold her hand. If we cross the road, just literally just cross the road, I'm sure she'd be fine. I'm sure my wife my wife now would be fine if I did not give her a big hug in public in the middle of Mid Valley Mega Mall.
Yesterday I saw, like fighters before they fight, they like square up and they put the forehead on each other and they're doing that, right?
Yeah.
Right, they're like doing that right straight up, right? So like this couple was just like forehead to forehead, just like that. And then like they're on the escalator going down.
Luchong, I've seen, and it always happens on escalators. I do not know
Always.
why.
Yeah,
Okay,
always.
I saw this guy, all right, on the escalator with his girlfriend, and she was in a headlock. Okay, like literally, he was like that. Okay, and her head was here.
Yeah.
All right, that did not look comfortable at all. But she was like, like, can she breathe? Like why? Like, like the sort of thing.
Yeah.
And it's just sort of thing. It just boggles my mind, lah. But okay. But on this topic, of course, PDA was like something that was like lightweight to kickstart. But boundaries, I'm sure. If you've been a Christian, some leader at some point in your life will say, hey, what are your boundaries?
Yeah.
So, like, how important is it, for us to maintain those boundaries, and how do we do that?
Yeah, I think it's essential. Now, I wanna caveat here and say, look, if any of you are in a relationship or have been in a relationship, right, and you love God, it is not easy, right? I'm not gonna lie, it's not easy, right? And there is sin and it's difficult, but it is important that both parties mutually agree that this is how we're going to honor each other, and that needs to be established really, really early. I tell you, if you try and figure it out, it's not going to work, because you would be like, oh, we are here, right? In DUMC, in the church, we have this. I was always taught this like 1 to 10 scale, right? Like like 1 to 2, like, oh, it's awkward, right? 2 to 3, oh, it's awkward, right? And then by the time you hit 5, 6, right, then to 9 to 10 is like, right? And so you need to set guardrails very clearly. But the one thing that I always emphasize on is why.
Yep.
Right? Because if I give you instructions without you understanding why those
not
are
gonna
important,
work.
it's not going to work, right? And ultimately, the why, one of the reasons for me is honor. This is how I honor her, right? I want to present her pure, and I want to. I think this is the best way to honor her, because especially given that we have established what we've established earlier, right? We have agreeing principles. Both of us want to honor God. We have that triangular relationship. I know if we do cross certain lines, it's going to hurt both parties, because there's guilt and there's shame and there's all this, right?
Right.
So it is honoring to maintain those boundaries. It is difficult. So I feel, and I think the one thing was it you? Someone I was talking to about this. Someone mentioned when Paul said flee, right? He didn't say stand and see what happens, or stand and don't do, right? He said flee. Because humanly speaking, if you stand and be like, I won't do it, but you've exposed yourself to that temptation and that risk.
Right. Yep.
Like the best piece of advice till date that Elder Jit gave me, and I was talking to him about this, he straight away tell me, he said, Lu Zhong, why would I trust you? I don't even trust myself. Why on earth should I trust you? Because sometimes you'll be like, no lah, trust me lah, it'll be okay lah. We go on this trip, it's just you and her, and you go in with another couple friend. It'd be fine lah. We'll sleep in different rooms, like guy one room, guys together, girls together. It'd be fine. But Uncle G straight away say, why on earth should I trust you?
Right.
I don't even trust myself. The last person in terms of, sexual sin that we should trust is ourselves. Because we are weak, right? But that is the fundamental of, as Christians, what we believe is the gospel, is that because we are weak, we need Jesus, right? And it's an important thing to bring into a relationship, because it brings about humility in both parties,
right?
Recognizing that both of us are weak, and that's okay. Journey through it together, right? But I feel it's so important.
Yep.
Right.
Yep. Yeah. Totally agree. I totally agree. I think in this area of boundaries, there is no other way but to, I think, first and foremost, like accountability, so flee from temptation. That is a given, don't like, hey, I wonder if I'm strong enough to handle the temptation.
Let's
you
just
are not.
go over to her
you
house.
are not.
Let's just see what happens.
Like, I'm telling you now, friend, you are not.
Confirm.
And like the jump from 5, and if you guys want to know what the level 1 to 10 rating is, we'll probably put it in the comments somewhere. But the jump from 5, which is what like kissing, something like that, to 10, which is like sex. Okay, it happens like that. So like, never trust yourself to be able to kind of handle that temptation. So just flee from it. And one of the ways it helps us flee from it is to be accountable to someone,
Yeah.
is to be real with someone,
Yeah.
you know, and to be transparent with someone. Like if you've crossed a boundary, would you have in a sense, the trust to be able to call that person immediately to say, I messed up and I want to get it right.
Yeah.
Like take responsibility for that.
Yeah.
You know, so in terms of like fleeing from it, but how do we like maintain that posture, right? Is to be accountable.
Yeah, and I think now that you mentioned that, massive red flag, right? If your partner says, don't worry,
lah.
it'll be fine. Red flag. Because we all know that it's not okay. We need to worry. That's the thing, right? So if someone goes, hey, come over to your house, don't worry, I'll be fine. Like, yeah, you know, we love God. Don't worry, right? It won't happen, man. Right? We'll be fine. We'll be fine. If your partner keeps affirming you that it's going to be okay and doesn't want to set very clear boundaries, that's a red flag. Right? It either speaks about his character, his motivation, or his maturity, all of which you should call out. Right? I feel that. Right?
And I think one of the great things to remind all of us as well is that if we have crossed that line or we have broken boundaries to a point where, you know, we think it's a lost cause, or we've already gone there, let's continue lah, since we've already gone there. That is a lie of the enemy.
Yeah.
You know, so you are never too far. You're never too far, in a sense, gone, you know, to like kind of build that those boundaries again.
Yeah.
You know, and it starts with accountability lah.
Yeah.
You know, so don't do it alone. Don't do it, you know, don't say, okay, we'll work at it together, but don't tell anyone. Look, that's what the enemy wants to do. So shame, right? And sin wants to be hidden, right? So the best way to like kind of like overcome it is to be accountable, bring it to light together. To say, okay, look, if we are serious about this, then both of us are going to commit to accountability, and we are going to commit to it till the day that we are
married.
We are married, or
even
like
after.
Look, this, because of this, we may decide to. I don't think this is healthy for us if we're going to continue down this road. Yeah. And I cannot stress on this like more, because I'm really like, in a sense, accountability is what prevented me from going down that road. You know, and so many times that I mean, they'll be real, like, you know, like what you said, it's not easy, right? A lot of people think that, oh, you just pray and then the Lord will take that away. But yeah, I mean, that's true. God can do that, but it's our flesh that's weak, you know, and that's why sometimes when we give in to that and we fall to that, you know, all the more we need to understand and know that there's no place that you're too far away for God to show His grace, you know, for redemption. You know, but it has to start with like accountability. It has to start with the willingness to say, hey, come on, let's work at this lah.
Yeah, absolutely spot on. I think that you mentioned the exact same word that I was going to mention, which is, in all of this, for some of you who may be in relationships right now, and you may have crossed certain lines, and you're actually in this right now, and you feel that guilt, that shame every time you walk into church, every time you scroll on Facebook and you see a Christian post, you scroll faster because you don't want to think about it, right? And you're in this guilt. Let me affirm you that, hey, your relationship doesn't fall outside the scope of the gospel. You are still saved by grace. No sin, no amount of sin or any shame is too much, right, for the cross of Jesus. And I cannot emphasize that enough, because we are saved by grace, right? So it doesn't matter. I want to echo what Pastor Terry said, right? It doesn't matter how far, or how much you have done. There is always grace.
Yeah.
Right. And Jesus, God loves you just as much as He did. And you have to believe that. Right. And let that bring you confidence to confide in your brother and sister, or your mentor, or whoever it is that's going to hold you accountable. Let them love you and let them affirm you that God loves you. Right. By their affirmation, by their care, by their intentionality. Right. So for those of you who are in that right now, let me just affirm you right now that you are loved. Right, and I speak this from experience. I speak this from a certain degree of empathy. Right, you are there truly is no amount of wrong you can do. Right, that God goes, no, it's too much. Right, right, and it's important that you, and after the two of you have brought this to light, to pray about it. Because I found in my relationship, I don't know about you guys, but I found that in those, when there are certain lines or certain boundaries that we may have crossed, and we bring it to light, we hold ourselves accountable, and we pray, and that's really powerful because you're calling it out together, you're praying together, and you're like, God, we need you.
Yeah.
Right. I remember those were core moments in our relationship where we prayed together.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. It's just declaring it over the situation, declaring it over whatever you're going through, lah. Right.
Yeah, I think prayer is essential because like if the flesh is not something that we can depend on, then the Spirit has to come in moments like you need to ask like the Holy Spirit to come and help, like to remind, in those moments. And yeah, I mean, I totally agree, with what you said.
I think it's also important to to whoever is watching to know that like we are not, all three of us here are not by any means quote unquote experts on this. We have not I think it's really important to know that like just because we can talk about it doesn't mean that like we have not what's the word? Like we've not
fallen.
We've not succeeded in like I think I speak for myself like a lot that like I think for Asher and I this struggle has been very, very real like all through our relationship, right? And I think on the practical, and I think for us it's also in a sense that like we both know like everything that you've mentioned, we know God, we know the gospel, we know we serve in church, everything lah. I think at the end of the day, like you can do everything right, but for myself, like what I found is really like at the end of the day you can do everything right, but it doesn't negate or it doesn't disregard the weight of this struggle lah, and it doesn't disregard like it doesn't disregard how difficult it is.
Sure.
It's really, really like it's a very, very difficult hill to climb.
Yeah.
I think the more that we love Jesus, the more that we want to glorify God, the harder the struggle gets. I think it's also like, which is like counterproductive, right? Or like counterintuitive because, we would think that the more I love God, the more I should be able to, I should be able to overcome.
But it reveals sin, right?
The more gospel I understand, the more spirit I'm filled with, the more I should be able to overcome, the stronger I should be, or like the lesser it should be a struggle. I think for myself, like that was the theology lah, and that was my like a very big part of what I thought.
Yeah.
And it wasn't just like a one time, 2-time thing. It was like ongoing, like throughout my relationship. That was something that in my mind, right, like as a Christian, and like not like really like as a not even new Christian, right?
Right.
So it's a very, very, I think I'm sharing this, though it's very, very personal. I don't think I've ever been this public, but I think it's important. Like I think it's really important that we acknowledge and we talk about it, that this is really like it's really, really difficult. It's a very, very real part of relationships that sometimes we don't really see. I think even in church, we see like, especially in church, we're very big on marriage and relationships, but sometimes we only see like the good parts of it lah. And very easily, I think for myself as well, I see like that, when I was 16, 17, even 13, 14, right? Like we idolize those parts of the relationship lah. And sometimes we can fall blind to, the reality that comes with all of this.
Yeah.
Right.
So a relationship doesn't just come with, the hard parts are not just the commitments to this person. But I think this struggle like is very much part of the package. I think it's something that I wish me and Ashen had talked about. I wish that we had talked about our physical boundaries before we dated. And I wish that was part of, if I had known, I think for the both of us, if we had known how difficult our journey in this aspect would be, I don't think we would have dated. I don't think we would have, like, it's that definitive. Like, I don't think we would have decided to enter a relationship because we
Right.
know how long we'll be dating.
Okay.
Right? So, yeah, so I think it's important to know lah that, you know,
Yeah,
whatever season you are in whatever, however long of a relationship you've been in, or even if you're single, I think you're single and getting in or thinking of getting into a relationship or whatever it is lah. Like, yeah, I think just want to put it out there that yeah, like this
No,
is,
yeah, it's real.
You know,
It's
it's real lah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Absolutely.
I think, yeah, again, like for us, like, yeah, just be, it's also challenging that part lah that says that, like, really, like, just because you've been a Christian and you know your scripture, you know your Bible, you know your gospel, really doesn't mean that
you're not susceptible to this.
yeah, it doesn't.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but I think what really helped for us on a you know, brighter note, on a hopeful note, I think for us is really like what you said. I think it's having that one person. For us, it was just that one couple that that was there from the very start. The person that we could text when we know we messed up. The person that we could text when we know that we are very, very close to messing up. I think for me, it meant a lot as well that it was somebody that I could text when I personally did not understand why we needed to stick to physical boundaries.
Yeah.
Why we needed, like, and it was, I think for me, it was something difficult. It's a difficult conversation to have because, hey, leader so long, Christian so long, CG leaders are more, you don't know why physical boundaries need to be had. But and so it took me a lot to have that conversation with that person. But when I finally did, and to see the patience and the grace and the love that this person had, and not being an echo chamber, right? But to see that patience that was shown, I think for me that meant a lot. And actually that, I think having her explain, I guess, like that actually helped me to reconcile with, you know, because all this while it was just like, I also don't know why, but like, just because my pastor say law, or like, just because my pastor say, and because I'm a Christian, so I'm supposed to be able to understand. And if I know God, I'm supposed to be able to understand why we should have physical boundaries, right? If I don't understand, that means really I don't know God, meh, right? But yeah lah, like to come to terms with saying that, like, really I actually don't understand it, right? But to bring that to light, like what you said, to bring that to light and to admit lah, like to admit when we don't understand.
Yeah.
And to say that it's okay if you don't understand, but hey, as the church, as your brother or sister in Christ, let me help you.
Yeah.
Let me journey through this with you. And I think it's also important, I think for those of us who are journeying with whether it's somebody going through something like that, or if you yourself are going through something like that, I think to know that it's really not, it won't be a one-time thing, nor will it be a 1 month thing, nor will it be a 1 year struggle.
Yeah.
But I think, you know, like to be really, really patient with that process when we fall, to not hide lah. I think I really, like, one thing that I really learned is to not hide from God. Like, like what you said, it's so important to, it's so important to really not keep our sin in the dark. And to bring it, because then that is where, like, theology informs us, right? That we have this confidence to approach the throne of God, even in our mess, even in our, you know, the ruggedness that we are in, even in our fallenness, right? To approach the throne of God with confidence, lah. Not because we are entitled and not because we've done it, but because, you know, we can. And I think that's what helps lah in the repentance process. So it's not to it's not to it's really not that I messed up and I know that, and I read my Bible and my Bible says that, you know, I have the grace of God, therefore I'm okay, right? Right. And I think it's even easier to fall then, because what really is keeping us, right?
No, so you're right. I think accountability is absolutely, because it's it's how you move. It's how you move forward, right?
Yeah.
Like it cannot just be, again, we are smart enough. The devil knows this, right? He knows that we are smart enough to be able to justify and to convince ourselves that we're good, right? So like Grace, hey, all Grace, all good, right? Chill, right? But where I think what you're saying, and I think thanks for being so real, is how do we move forward? I think accountability is that, right? Finding someone, right? Making it known to someone that you trust, lah.
Yeah. Great. I mean, thank you so much for sharing, the both of you. I think if I could summarize, okay, it's impossible to summarize now, right? But I mean, I would like to say that you know, being in relationships is something that's very real. It's something that happens. If you're a young person, like if you are a teenager, and you know, I think don't be afraid to talk to someone about it. If you have feelings for someone, and I think the whole thing is like, let's not alienate liking someone or having feelings or being in a part of a relationship. I mean, let's talk about it.
I think it's not just don't be afraid, like talk to somebody about it.
Talk to someone about it.
Yeah.
And I think like accountability in all levels is so important. Like in the portion where you are like not sure, I think I like this girl, I like this guy.
Yeah.
You know, while you're in the relationship, and I would even say that even after you're married, let's continue to be accountable to people as well, on how the marriage is going, on how you build the household. And I think for me, Rose and I have been incredibly blessed all throughout our lives with people who were willing, like for you, Phoebe, and also for you, Luchong, like people who were willing to sow into our lives. People who are willing to not be judgmental, but to say, look, we're all fallen, but if you do not want to remain in that state of like shame and pain and hurt, let's journey together. Yeah.
I think one more last thing from me, right? Since you mentioned that, really, really pro tip: if you and you know the person that you like, or the person, and you guys are thinking about a relationship, or you're thinking whether you want to pursue, I guarantee you, if you talk to someone about it, there will be more clarity.
Yep.
I know you may not feel it in the moment. You may feel like, hey, let's
100%. Yeah.
right? But I let me assure you, over many relationships, if you speak to someone about it, right, there will be clarity. Right? You will either be, yes, this makes sense, or they're gonna ask you really good questions that you should be asking. But in the moment when there's emotions, our brain don't work, lah, right? I like her, she like me, she pretty, I'm handsome. And I wouldn't blame you, right? Because God gave us emotions. Emotions are powerful, but having accountability, especially before you get into a relationship, right? Trust me, it's worth it.
Fantastic.
Talk to somebody.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much, the both of you. I think before we end tonight, of course, subscribe to us. You know, is there even a like button in YouTube? No, right?
No,
you got that little ding, but there is?
There is.
Okay. Like this episode if you like it. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Press that bell button.
Smash that like.
So we're definitely
bell.
going to have more than 3 episodes this year, I hope. Do
we
follow
will.
us, and of course do comment in the section as well if you have any questions about relationships, or if you like to contribute, anything to this episode, or more importantly, if we talk a lot about the community that we have, the people that we've been accountable to. If you are someone that you are looking for community, if you are looking for someone to talk to or converse with, to journey with you through this, especially relationships, we're going to include our email address. We're going to include our Instagram tag, with the video. Do reach out to us.
Yeah.
I think we're friendly people, right? Don't I look friendly?
Yeah. But also comment. I mean, if you have, right, comment if something makes sense to you, this video. Comment down and share why it made sense. Maybe you have an experience, because that may be encouraging to someone else who watches the video as well. They may go, oh yeah, that relates. No, I get it. I'm not alone.
If you relate to something that we've shared, comment
Share
it as well.
Yeah.
Share it.
Talk about it.
Tell us your stories in your relationships.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. I think that's about it.
And
That's the end.
and give us more topics.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Suggest topics in the comment section. If not, you
Please
just
do.
be depending on this old man here to talk about
That
stuff.
is correct.
All right, we've come to the end of our episode. Thank you so much for staying with us. Look out for more content from this channel, and God bless you. Bye-bye.